Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Shaman King 2021, Episode 3. So, another episode of Shaman King, and I'm excited. As I've stated before, I've been really enjoying this. I think it's a really good remake so far. And from what I'm gathering from it, it seems to be very much similar at the moment to the original. From what I remember. But considering I don't remember a lot and it's been so long, it still feels fresh to me. um, and I'm excited to see what kind of changes they end up making as well. If I can even spot any of those, because again, it's been so long, I might not even remember uh, what happened before in the original. Plus, you also have to take into account that with the dub, they probably maybe cut scenes and stuff that were in the Japanese version, the original version. Because a lot of dubs did that back in the day. There were scenes that were cut or that were edited or whatnot. Um, so you got to take that into account too. So it's still a very fresh viewing experience for me. Um, but I'm excited to see where it's all going to lead, no matter what. I may know a lot of the characters, some of them by name. I may know the general gist of where things are going, to a degree at least, but I still am having fun. Now, now, let's talk about last episode. So last episode, we met Tao Ren, a young prodigal shaman who uses the spirit of a Chinese sorcerer. And when I say uses, I mean uses the spirit. Because to Tao Ren, that's what spirits are. They are tools for shamans to use to achieve their goals. They are not seen as, well, the souls of people who once lived on the planet. Tao Ren also has an ideal about kind of restoring nature and balance and everything, because he feels that the earth has become lost as it's kind of industrialized and whatnot. They don't go too heavily into that in the last episode, but they did definitely cover it. But Ren and Basan proved to be quite a bit of a trouble for Yo and Amidamaru. They're very strong and they can use the full extent of their power due to training. However, Tao Ren believes it because of the way he's using Basan. But then is proven wrong when Yo ends up going full power as well, proving that it's not about that kind of thing. Yo manages to defeat Ren, and everything looks good, but Yo did sustain some notable injuries, so he's stuck in the hospital when suddenly his fiancée, Anna, comes to visit. I always liked Anna growing up. Growing up watching the original, she wasn't my favorite character, but I mean, that was Faust. But I always really liked her character nonetheless. Like, she's not really a tsundere or anything like that, but she's very tough and very judgmental, I guess you could say. Like, she very much takes Yo's training as a shaman seriously. She sees him as the person who is going to be the next Shaman King and wants to make sure that he doesn't stray from that path. She's very serious about it. Um, and from what I do remember, she was also very strong, though we didn't see much of it. And that might have been things that were cut from the original, for all I know. But from what I remember, yeah, we didn't see much of her actual ability, but she was notably strong. She did have ability, she just didn't use it much. I wonder if that is going to change in this in this version, because the opening again does show her fighting alongside Yo against Tao. So it's possible. It is altogether possible. Um, so I assume, since we saw her appear at the very end of the last episode, that she's going to have a role to play in this one. As for any new characters arriving, I don't know. I don't know who's next. That's the thing. I do not know for the life of me who is the next shaman to be introduced. It again, as I said, it's been so long, it's been so many years that I just don't remember. I don't think it's Faust, and I don't think it's Ren's sister. I don't think she came right after him. I don't think June came right after Ren. I think there was a little bit of a buffer in the middle there. But I might be wrong. I mean, it's altogether possible. Because again, it's been so long. So, um, but I'm definitely interested to see where this goes, because it has so much potential. It's doing so well. The animation, the voice acting, all of that is great, and I'm just really into it again. I'm really into Shaman King for the first time in years and years. It's weird to think about. It is. Um, and I hope that, unlike other recent uh, reboots and stuff, that I don't get too bored by it. um, and speaking of which, I do want to mention, I have heard that the Higurashi uh, Higurashi Go, I heard that it does start to get like much better and start to diverge and stuff. Um, but as I had said in the past, it's like it's showing a little too much of the old stuff without doing enough new. They could have little hints here and there. They don't have to just constantly just only show the old stuff for episodes and episodes at a time. Um, I eventually we'll get back into that though. Okay, anywho, I'm definitely interested to see what comes next, to again get reminded, I guess, what comes next. Um, and hopefully I continue to enjoy this as much as I have been. Um, Now there's going to be like 50 something episodes, I believe, so we still got quite a ways to go. Um, I'm just wondering, like, how is it going to deviate from the original, and when? Because I don't even know when in the original series it started to deviate from the manga, because of, the time it was being released and all. So I don't even know when it's actually going to deviate here. I assume it's not going to be until like a little later on, at least. But we'll see. We'll see. So, that being said, let's just get this going. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I looked it up in between, and I was right. There is an episode of Star Versus, and I don't know, like, 100% if it is like based off of this. In fact, let me see if I can find out here. Let me check the fandom page. I don't know if it is for 100% based off of this, but it might tell me here. I'm not seeing anything that's saying so. But there's an episode of Star versus the Forces of Evil called Friend Enemies, where Marco and Tom are like hanging out and trying to get along and stuff because of their mutual interest in the band Love Sentence, I think it was called. It's probably listed there, but I'm not gonna open up the tab again. um, but during while they're hanging out, Marco is like this fan of this martial artist, and Tom resurrects his spirit and dead body, and he beats up like a security guard in front of the movie theater that's showing like this Mackie Hand movie marathon. And it's like Mackie Hand is clearly a rip on Jackie Chan, but it very much feels similar to this. Obviously, not exactly the same because the situation and how it's handled is different. But the fact is, you have this martial artist is brought back from the dead in his corpse, and we get to see him fight. And there's literally like the martial artist has a movie that the characters go to see. It's very similar. It's very similar. But I can't see anything. I couldn't see anything on the page that said like whether or not it was directly a reference to that or not. But it was very similar. So it's like, wow, I didn't think I was going to think about and see a reference that made me think of Star versus the Force of Evil. I haven't really been trying to think about that for a while now since it ended. So poorly ended. But wow, that's kind of hilarious. And I liked that episode of Star versus too. It wasn't like amazing, but I enjoyed it. um, but yeah, so this episode surprised me because I didn't know that Juntao was going to happen already. I thought that was going to be later on. Um, I thought there was going to be like one or two others before her, but no, we just go right into it. So this episode does a couple of things in that regard. We get to meet June as well as her spirit Lai Pyrong or Pyrong. I'm going to get that name right or wrong, aren't I? Let me see if I can find it real quick. Pyron, Lee Pyron. Um, so we meet them for the first time, as well as we build upon Anna, who we met at the end of the last episode. Just kind of like getting to know her and her aspirations, her ideals, what she can actually do, stuff like that. And it's really interesting. It is genuinely really interesting to see this done again because, again, I had seen this before. And I assume in the original they didn't switch things up, and that I assume that June would have been next then, and I just forgot. But it's clear it's showing clearly that I don't remember everything. I was very sure that she didn't come in yet, but she did. And so it's very clear that I don't remember everything and that I'm still being surprised and impressed and interested by this reboot. And that's good. That's very good. That shows that it's still something that keeps me coming back for more, that keeps my attention, keeps my interest, keeps my excitement. Now, as for the actual content of this episode, outside of just that kind of stuff. So, Manta takes them to see the movie from Lee Pyron, And shortly after, they're confronted by June Tao, or Tao June, whichever way you want to say it, the older sister of Tao Ren, who we met last episode. She is trying to kind of avenge her brother, but she's not like dead set, like vengeful or anything. She's just like, I'm gonna make sure I get that spirit for him and everything. Um, and so she uses the corpse, the literal rotting corpse of Lee Pyron, combined with the raised spirit as her puppet. And this is a different kind of shamanism than we've seen from the other characters. Like with Yo and even Ren and all, they just raise the spirit and use them in concordance with their body and with weapons. Um, but as we see here, she actually puts the spirit into his original body, which adds an entire different layer where she doesn't have to actively fight herself personally, but rather controls the body and the spirit with the tags, allowing for her to kind of take part in the action without actually personally taking part in the action. And this is based off of something else. Let me check here, real quick. Um, this is actually based off of something. Yes, the jiangshi, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, and I apologize. But the jiangshi, also known as a Chinese hopping vampire or hopping zombie, um, is a type of reanimated corpse in Chinese legends and folklore. It's it's typically depicted as a stiff corpse dressed in official garments from the Qing dynasty, and it moves around by hopping with its arms outstretched. It kills living creatures to absorb their life force. Um, so it is very much based on that. If you've ever seen like images of a jiangshi, it's very much based off that. And there is a fighting character, a fighting game character, like I mentioned in the reaction, based off of that as well. I can't remember her name. Oh God. Okay, I found it, but I'm not sure I'm gonna pronounce this right. Cien Ko, maybe. But she's from Darkstalkers. That's what fighting game franchise. Um, I think she appeared maybe in Capcom or Marvel versus Capcom, maybe. No, Capcom versus SNK. Okay, according to this. But yeah, like I was definitely remembering her as well. But the Jiangshi is definitely what this was based off of. Like you can even see Jun Tao's uh, design, her outfit and stuff is more based off of like Chinese culture. And you could say the same about Tao Ren to a degree as well. And he even uses a Chinese warlord as a spirit, so kind of makes sense. Him using a Chinese warlord and Jun Tao using a Jiangshi, um, it kind of works out like they're kind of giving a theme to the Tao family. So yeah, um, I really like the upgraded art and animation, as I've said before, because it really helps make a lot of this stand out in a whole new way. I've watched the original opening and seen how the original animation looked again and everything, um, through that and through a couple clips here and there, and it just looks so much better. And yeah, of course, it's going to. It's been 20 years, but it's just still somehow so fascinating how much better it does look and how much smoother everything is, how much just prettier the visuals are. Um, it just works so well. And I've seen newer anime that have had older styles and stuff. I've seen newer anime that have been poorly animated and poorly drawn in terms of their art style. It does still happen. Just because it's newer doesn't necessarily mean it's better. But in this case, it definitely is an improvement. Um, Kind of like the Digimon series, Digimon Adventure 2020, though that one is not as notable. With Digimon Adventure 2020, they keep it very classic, even with the art and animation. Um, but this series, they've definitely upgraded it quite a bit. It's very noticeable here. Um, so it looks like the preview for the next episode did kind of spoil us on what's going to happen, though. At least if you know what happens from the original, um, which I'm actually excited if that's the case for the next episode, because I really like what's coming with that, and I really want to see the portrayal of this character in this version, just because of how much I remember them from the original. Um, but yeah, this was a really interesting, fun episode. I liked the ending on how he chose to stay with her even after regaining his senses, because it just breeds the continued idea that she had seen the error of her ways, understands what she did wrong, and does genuinely feel a bit sorry for it. Like you could see that. And with him choosing to stay with her, even despite all of that she did to his body and his spirit and everything, the fact that she like literally enslaved him to use as a puppet like that, the fact that he still chooses to trust her to be his shaman, it says a lot. Trust like that is important, like in real life too. That kind of trust is hard to come by, honestly. And fairly so, but he's showing that he's willing to give her a second chance. And I think that's going to come back into play. I don't know for sure, and I definitely don't remember from the original series, but based on what we're just seeing here, I think it is going to. Um, and yeah, I like how we got to see Anna in action in this episode, using her powers to integrate Lee Pyron's master into Yo's body. Like it's a really cool like branch of the shaman powers. Um, Seeing that in action and everything. And I like how this episode did that as well. We get to see two different new branches of shaman powers, because prior to this, all we saw was pretty much the same kind of thing. Even with Tao Ren, even though he did it differently, it was still pretty much the same kind of shamanism. He was doing the same kind of thing. But here we see two different styles that are just introduced, with Anna's channeling and whatnot as an Itako um, shaman. And we get to see June's control over a zombified body and the spirit within, using the jiangshi tags. And it's really cool that we get to see these two other variations of shaman practicing, because it's just such a cool idea of branching this out. Like, because you could easily just have had every character have the same kind of thing. It's like, oh, we have a spirit, we can turn them into a ball, shove them in our bodies, and integrate with them. Maybe use some kind of sword or some kind of proxy weapon to enhance the fighting ability. They could have easily made every shaman have that same kind of thing, but no. The original mangaka decided to branch out and allow different shamans to have different styles and whatnot, allowing them to each feel unique and interesting. It helps the characters breathe as characters, helps them feel real. And I really do like that. I really do think that's a smart decision, because it just helps the characters feel more real, helps them feel more like actual characters, than just some kind of like what how do I put it? Some kind of what's the word? My mind is blanking on the word. I've used the word before too, or phrase or whatever you want to call it. Waste of time. Let's just say waste of time. I can't think of it. It helps them from feeling like some kind of waste of time, some kind of just tool for the writers and animators in this case to use to progress the plot. A plot device. That's exactly what I was thinking of. It makes them feel like less of a plot device when you differentiate them like this, when you give them unique skills, unique abilities, unique ways of being a shaman. It allows them to feel like, well, like in reality where people are different. People, even people who practice the same kind of things, do it differently. It's just like with, well, martial arts. Martial arts like is a broad category of a lot of different techniques. Kung Fu is not the same as karate. It's not the same as a lot of these different styles. And it's like, it allows, by doing this, by showing these characters as different with their shamanism, it allows them to feel like they're part of a bigger world. Like, once you start to see all these different styles and all these different ways of being a shaman, you start to wonder, okay, what else is out there? What can these other characters in the intro do? And it's like, to a degree, I do know and I do remember a lot of them, but you got to wonder as a viewer, like seeing that, it's like, and what even beyond these characters, like, there's so many opportunities that this kind of thing brings. And again, I love that. So I really think that this episode did well to show us just how different shamans can be, that they aren't all just the same thing, and that they use their powers in different ways. In some cases, even as an assistance. Like Anna here was clearly using her powers in an assisting way rather than an actual, like, in action fighting kind of way. And that's fine. But we see plenty of shamans fighting with their powers too. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. um, and again, I want to find this again real quick, if I can. Um, I showed you guys this last reaction, but I want to show it off again if I can here. Let me see if I can find it, because I actually have to. I should have had this open and ready in between, but I forgot about it because I was more worried about looking up the reference with Star versus the Forces of Evil. But I can find it real quick. I know where it is in my folders, so. There we go. Conventions. I believe that was 2017? No. No, it must have been 2018. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I'll bring up the picture here. And then I just have to put it on my capture so I can bring it up for you guys. Maybe. Hold on. It's giving me trouble. Here we go. I don't know why it's so long. I just wanted to show this off again. I showed this off last week. This will probably be the last time, so don't have to worry about me showing it off every single week. But just as a reminder, yeah, here is me with Lisa Ortiz. She voiced June Tao in the original dub of the series from 2001, the old version. She was great to me. She loved talking about it. I wonder if she's going to be watching this current series at all. But yeah, just wanted to show that off again because I really enjoyed meeting her, and again, I really loved June Tao in the original series. Like, I really liked her character. I really enjoyed her. Um, yeah, it's just I liked her character. So either way, either way, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of Shaman King 2021, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.